So yeah, that's where babies come from. Anyway, I've got to go. I need to get a video filmed. I've been wanting to talk about my, what I've learned in 7 months on YouTube, and so I kind of want to get this video done. Uh, if you have any other questions, you can always ask me later. I'll be around. I'm glad we finally had this talk because, honestly, your understanding of human anatomy was a little bit weird, if I'm being completely honest with you. But yeah, maybe later on I can tell you a story about the time that I met Bigfoot. That was an interesting time. He's not what you would think. So, but anyway, let's go get the video done. Welcome back to the Loose Professional channel on YouTube. How's everybody doing tonight? So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my time on YouTube, some things that I've learned, and just some general kind of sharing some behind the scenes kind of stuff, as well as answering some of your guys' questions. So let's go ahead and kind of get started. I'm going to start out with telling you a little bit of a story about like how I got started, and then we'll go into some of the things that I've learned. Okay, so if you look at my channel, you'll see that the first video that shows up on my channel is actually from October 29th, 2016. So almost 6 years ago, a little over 5.5 years ago now. And that wasn't the first video that I ever posted. So back in 2016, I had an idea that I wanted to kind of do something on YouTube. I didn't know what, and I kind of had this like creative itch that I wanted to do something creative and fun. And so I started going out and I was filming cemeteries and walking around, and basically the premise of it was just kind of looking at headstones and reading off names, and it was kind of ghost hunting and kind of just exploring. And to be honest, it was very boring. The sound quality was awful because I was filming on, I had an iPhone at the time, and the wind was blowing most of the time when we were outside, and it was hitting the microphone, and it was just terrible windy noise. If you've ever seen a video like that, you'll know what I'm talking about. The best thing that I did throughout that entire year was the one thing that's still up, which is the Finding Alley documentary. So after that, I didn't upload for a while, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I tried a few different little things here and there, and then in fall of 2020, I actually started to stream on Twitch. And at first, it was a lot of fun. I'd get on and I'd play a game, and people would join, and I'd talk to chat, and I had a pretty decent fun, pretty fun time for a while. But it got boring really fast. Video games are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be entertaining. I wasn't entertained as I got further along, and it showed in the content. I looked bored. I would be sitting there just kind of staring at the screen while I was moving my character around, especially like the times where you don't have like anybody in chat, and then you're just kind of staring at the screen and you zone out, and then you look down and see that somebody messaged you like 20 minutes ago. So I had a lot of that, and so I finally was like, okay, you know what? I'm done with Twitch, but I was doing this YouTube thing. Maybe I could pick that back up somehow. So I questioned myself a lot when I first kind of got the idea of wanting to do YouTube, wondering like, is it too late to get onto YouTube? Maybe the video editing and all that kind of stuff. I don't know that I could really do that. So I kind of shifted my focus a little bit to photography, because I loved taking pictures even well before I started doing it for last year and get the camera and everything. So the second video on my channel was actually from March 13th of last year of 2021, and it was basically a trial run of like running around with my Google Pixel that I had and seeing how did that sound and how did the video look. It was a newer phone, and the phone I'd been using in 2016 wasn't as up to date hardware wise as the one that I had in 2021. So I thought I'll try it out, and the video came out okay. It wasn't terrible. Like there wasn't a lot of wind, so there wasn't a lot of background noise or anything like that. And it was more just kind of to put a feeler out there and see like, how do I feel about doing this, and what could be out there for me. Shortly after that, I decided, I think I'm going to lean more into the photography stuff, because that was the trip that I took that video on. Was actually one trip that me and my wife would go out and just like take pictures of different cemetery statues and things like that. I really enjoyed taking that kind of photography. So along that journey, one of the first things that I bought was a DJI Mavic Pro 2, which is the drone that I have. I was using that drone, flying it around, taking some pictures, kind of getting used, and that was really where I started to kind of understand a little bit about the aperture and the ISO and how all of these things work together. And so I started taking pictures with that. Well, it's cool shots and it's cool aerial stuff, but I wanted to be able to take some better pictures of the statues on the ground and stuff too. So I wound up, a few weeks later, I wound up buying a Canon EOS 2000D. And I was having fun with that camera. I was getting used to kind of how the photo editing side of things worked. I started using Lightroom and kind of figuring out like how to tone the pictures and that kind of stuff. And in the meantime, throughout the entire month of May last year, I spent just binge watching YouTube videos about photography. And I was learning a lot and I was having a lot of fun, but it got to near the end of May and the photography stuff, I'd been sharing it on Instagram and Facebook, but it wasn't really scratching that creative itch that I had. Like, I still wanted to make something, and the photos were cool and I really enjoyed them, but I wanted to do something more. And so I decided I'm going to get back into the YouTube channel, and I've already got one that's already set up. I'll make a few little tweaks and kind of change some of the banners and stuff. And so I did that, and I uploaded a video, late May last year, just basically saying, hey, this is a channel update. This is what I'm planning on doing moving forward. I'm going to be doing photography tutorials as a beginner for beginners. I thought it would be kind of cool to see if anybody wanted to join me for my ride in learning how to take photos and take better pictures and that kind of stuff. Now, my biggest concern when doing this was the fear of failure. I was afraid that, I failed before. I've never been able to sustain it. I've never been really able to enjoy it that much. So what if this doesn't go well? But I persisted and I pushed myself through, and I just kind of dove headfirst into it. And over the course of last summer, when I first started uploading the photography videos, I spent a lot of time on YouTube learning about YouTube. There's a ton of videos out there and a ton of channels out there that do what are basically YouTube growth videos. And so I just full on watched as much of that as I possibly could, and trying to learn the techniques and the ideas behind how to edit and what I should be doing, what's best practices, and kind of getting used to the platform as a whole. Now, unfortunately, a side effect of all of that and seeing these channels that were talking about this stuff was I started to kind of compare myself to bigger channels. They're getting all these views. Why am I not getting these views? Am I not doing this right? Am I not doing that right? I'm trying everything I can. I'm following what they're telling me are best practices. What's going on? And that slowly was kind of getting things over time, but I was very impatient, and it was never really the way that those videos come across when you're watching them. They'll say YouTube's a long-term game and it takes time. But then everything else that they say and their actions are, oh yeah, anybody can blow up at any moment. You could get huge overnight. And that's the way it came across. And so I was wondering, am I doing something wrong? And then my focus started to kind of shift a little bit to, am I really enjoying making photography videos? Because what if I do get an audience that likes the photography stuff, and they come in for the photography stuff, and then a year down the road I decide, I don't really like this anymore, I want to shift and do something else, and everybody just leaves. And so that was the other fear I had of I could wind up in a situation where all of these people that had followed me for the photography stuff would leave because I wasn't doing it anymore. And I realized that what I really enjoyed, and the reason why I did a lot of photography in cemeteries, was because I really enjoyed the paranormal aspect of things. I enjoyed talking about philosophy, and I enjoyed, all of the stuff that goes along in the topics that I've covered in the past few months are all the topics that I really care about. So I decided in early August that something had to change. Kind of the tipping point for me was I had uploaded a video about my Canon EOS 2000D, and it was basically a review, kind of going over the basics, how it works. I'd had it for a few months, so I kind of wanted to share, somebody who's been using it regularly for a few months, what it's like. And so I uploaded that video, and it actually started to do really well, especially in search, where people were searching for reviews on the camera, and my video was coming up, and they were clicking on it, and they were coming in and watching at least a little bit of it, or hopping around and checking out different things, because I had chapters in there to tell people where to go if you're looking for a specific thing. So I had that going on, and I started to see that, and I got a little excited at first about it, but then I uploaded a video about Instagram being dead. And that video hardly got any traction at all. And I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, okay, mentally I was not in a good place. I wasn't thinking straight. But I also knew I wasn't really enjoying the photography stuff anymore. So I decided, why not? Let's go for it. Let's go for the paranormal stuff. I ordered the Reaper costume and picked out a place to go film the very first cemetery chat. And I went out and I filmed the cemetery chat and put that all together and uploaded it. And very quickly, it started to kind of blow up. And I had in the past, with some of my photography videos, I had tested the waters and tried out the whole Facebook advertising thing. And those videos would usually get big views, but not really much watch time, and people wouldn't really stick around and they wouldn't subscribe. So I was used to, on some of my videos, particularly seeing like this huge spike of traffic from YouTube and then nothing for a while. This video, called Ghosts Are Not Real, it got a spike of traffic. Somebody, and I still to this day don't know who, but somebody shared it. They had to have shared it somewhere on Facebook. I know it came from Facebook because I saw where the traffic was coming from. And I was like, wait a minute. And I went back and checked my campaigns. I'm like, I didn't advertise this. What's going on? And whoever had shared it, like, had brought a whole bunch of people in. And a lot of people watching it and commenting. And it actually, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. The comments that were coming in on that video were awesome because it was something to respond to, and it was something that I was passionate about, and it was starting the conversation, which was kind of the goal. And I was so happy and so excited. And to this day, that video is still my #2 video in terms of views on the entire channel, because it's continued to kind of build and grow little by little and just over time. And that was what the tipping point of videos for me. Now, over the months since that video has been uploaded, I've uploaded a lot of different stuff, and I've seen things kind of fluctuate up and down, and sometimes over the moon with a ton of new stuff coming in, and sometimes put out a video and it ranks with all of my videos. It's like at the number 10 spot on all of the videos. That's still a little like, oh man, I wish this would have done better. But the difference is I'm not sitting there looking at it like, oh, what am I doing? Maybe I should quit. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving making the videos. I'm loving the topics that I'm getting to cover. And it's a lot of fun for me. And that's, so much different when I was doing the photography stuff, because then I was more worried about like growing a channel and making, building an audience and all that. And now it's like I'm more worried about making the videos and making better quality content. And that all got me thinking, if I could do it over again with what I know now, what would I do differently? What do I wish that I would have known from the beginning? And then I got this comment from Patty Shee on the What is Unfiction video, and that sparked something in me, because I wanted to kind of make a video like this, and then Patty's comment was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna read her comment first. So Patty, on that video, she said, I watched the whole thing, firstly because I like your videos, but also I don't want to miss anything that I might have found interesting towards the end. Which I've been putting some stuff in there if you guys have been paying attention. Some I may like but better, but I've never given you a thumbs down. I don't think so anyway. Looks around coyly. JK, I haven't. And then she goes on to say, don't be so hard on yourself. There's not one YouTuber who hasn't second guessed themselves about their content and or their videos. I've never given you a thumbs down. I don't think anyway. Looks around coyly. JK, I haven't, I think. The part in there about there's not one YouTuber that hasn't second guessed themselves in their content and their videos, that's something that like inherently I know, but I need to be reminded of sometimes, because sometimes when you're watching videos, like you see the best of what people have to put forward on YouTube, and sometimes it can be really easy to overlook or miss that person that uploaded that video sitting there on the back end and looking at their stats and looking at their numbers. And a lot of people are worried about that kind of stuff. So that was a really good point. But then she goes on to say, that reminds me, I always wanted to ask a YouTuber, can you see who chooses thumbs up or thumbs down? And also, I sometimes come up with another thing to post and go back. Of course, the video restarts and I click pause. Can you tell who pauses or watches just part of the whole thing? Does that show up as a bad thing when YouTube keeps track of the number of views a video gets, or does it add to or take away from the views? And that comment really got the wheels in my head turning. Most of us as viewers on YouTube, when we're watching videos, we don't think a lot about the back end, the part that the creators see, what they go through, and how YouTube works behind the scenes. And a lot of creators, especially newer ones, they don't really know much about it. I've spent a ton of time deep diving over the past 7 months to really learn about the platform, because I like to know as much as I possibly can about a topic or a subject or whatever before I start doing it. Like when I start to jump into something, I want to know as much as I possibly can. So I want to start off first by answering Patty's question here. No, YouTubers cannot see who has liked or disliked a video. An extension of that, YouTubers can't see who has subscribed to a channel unless you have your subscription set to public. That's a pet peeve of mine, by the way, because I've seen a lot of channels out there that'll do giveaways, and they'll say in the giveaway, like, well, if you want to enter the giveaway, you have to make sure to like and subscribe and comment on the video. And what they're really saying is, I want you to interact with the video, and then they'll use your comment as, you know, because you can look at the comments and you can pull usernames from the comments and that kind of thing. So comments can be used for giveaways and that kind of stuff, but whenever you hear a YouTuber say like, subscribe, and comment in order to enter a giveaway of some kind, that's BS. They have no idea if you have liked the video, and if your subscriptions are set to private, they have no idea if you're subscribed to their channel or not. There's no way to tell unless you let them know. And then the other part of that is we cannot see who individually has watched any percentage of a video. Now, one thing that we can do is I could ask you to do something like, comment down below your favorite food right now. But basically, using that, you can see the people that comment. You can tell, okay, this person was watching at this particular time. Now, that doesn't tell you that they were watching up to that time, because technically they could have clicked anywhere in the middle of the video or wherever it happens to be and seen that and commented. So you don't have a way to know exactly like how much they've watched, but you can kind of get an indication or a gauge, depending on how much people are, or depending on how they're commenting and how they're interacting and that kind of stuff. It's especially helpful if somebody writes out a long detailed comment about a whole bunch of different things from the video. They probably watched the whole video. You know, they took the time to comment, they took the time to watch it and really analyze it, and those are the kind of people that, you know, YouTube really latches onto and pays close attention to, because they're the ones that YouTube can kind of figure out, like, whether a video is good or bad based on, you know, well, this user's normal behavior is this, and they aren't doing this at all with this. So that's something that YouTube kind of looks at on the back end as well. Okay, so now I want to kind of look a little bit, I want to show you guys some of the back end stuff, some of the stuff that I look at and some of the stuff that other YouTubers see, just so you can kind of get an idea. I think it's good to understand some of this stuff and to really kind of to understand YouTube from a different context, because as a viewer, it's sometimes it's frustrating because YouTube serves you up, you know, videos you've already seen, or they serve you up stuff that you have no interest in, and you're like, where does this come from? Why are they deciding this video would be one I would like? So this will give you kind of an insight to that as well. So every video, and this is my most recent video here, the fortune telling tarot cards, horoscopes, and Barnum statements video. So every video, when you've uploaded it, shows this basic performance stuff, and this is like the dashboard, the main screen for YouTube. So you see the basic performance stuff, and you can kind of figure out your views and that kind of stuff for the most recent video. This page, I know I've shown on previous videos, but I didn't really go in depth with it. This is kind of just your list of every video, so you can scroll through, and you can go through every single video you've ever uploaded. And within that, you can go to the individual videos analytics. So every video has its own set of analytics. And you can look on the back end and you can see, okay, this is how many views, this is the watch time, and you've got the reach tab over here that shows the number of impressions. Basically, impressions, YouTube counts an impression whenever you see a video that on your home screen, on the recommended tab. So all of the stuff that I think it's over here, where you got a whole bunch of videos lined up. So if you see it there, it's an impression. If you see it in search, I believe they count it as an impression. And there's a couple other places around the platform that they count as impressions. And basically that is YouTube put a video in front of a viewer for, I believe it's 3 seconds, and if that viewer clicks on it, then that counts as an impression click-through. If they don't click on it, then it counts as they ignored it. Now the thing is if you see a video from a creator, and let's say you've got like 4 or 5 creators that you watch, right? That you really enjoy, that you watch everything that they put out. And so you come on YouTube, and the first few videos they show are all brand new videos from those 4 or 5 creators. So that's 1 impression for each of those creators. When you click on one of those videos to go watch that video, if they show another impression or another video up on the side from one of the other creators, that would count as a second impression. Now let's say you finish watching the first video and you click through to the next, you go on to the next video from the other creator, and so that'll count as a click, but they showed it to you twice, you clicked on it once, because it's only physically possible really to click on it. You can click on it multiple times in other ways, but like if you see it twice and you clicked on something else first and then you come to click on that one, YouTube still sees that as, well, we showed it to you twice, you only clicked on it once. And that's kind of the problem too, is when you have a whole bunch of people that see your videos, you have a lower click-through rate, because some people will wait and watch your video later. Maybe it's a longer video, they don't have time right now, but they plan on coming back. Some people will avoid it for a while. Maybe they don't really care that much, but then they kind of grows on them after a few times of seeing it, and they decide to click on it and check it out. Every single one of those counts. And then YouTube looks at like, okay, every time we showed it to people, how often did they click on it? And so that's the click-through rate right here. And so they take the impressions, the click-through rate, and then they've got this. Now, this is a little bit behind this graph right here down here. But essentially, they take the impressions, they take the click-through rate, how many views, then that gives you how many views from impressions. And then the average view duration of the people that clicked on it. So that's a different number than back on the other page over here on the overview page. This video doesn't have it, the last Ohio Legends and Tales video. Next one's coming up next weekend, I believe. But so you see here, this one says 4 minutes and 30 seconds average view duration, but if you go over to the reach tab, look at that same chart we were just looking at, it shows 3 minutes and 55 seconds. So that's kind of like, there's these different ways they calculate it, and depends on what they consider as an impression and where the traffic came from, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how YouTube decides whether or not to show a video to somebody, is they look at the average view duration, the click-through rate, and the session duration. So basically the session duration is the most difficult one to explain, because it's basically when you come onto the platform. Let's say you open up your app, or you go to your desktop and you on your computer and you pull it up, and you go to YouTube. That starts your session counter. And then YouTube captures every single thing you do during that session. So if you click on a video and you watch through that video, that's a good thing. The next video that you click on, which is what they want, you click on another video, that extends your session duration. So if the video, if I upload a video and you click on that video, and then after that video is over, you click on another one of my videos, well, YouTube sees that as, okay, this channel as a whole is increasing session duration. And they kind of compare it to like what your normal session duration is. If you normally spend 30 minutes a day on YouTube, but when you're watching my video, you spend 60 minutes a day on YouTube, they take that into account as well. But they look at that differently than if you click on somebody else's video and you go watch somebody else's video. The session duration still counts, but then they're like, okay, well, maybe this channel is good for like bringing people into things, but not good for keeping the viewers on there, which is weird, because I know a lot of times for me, some of my favorite channels, I've watched all of their stuff. And I'm not about to sit there and like rewatch videos necessarily. Sometimes I do if I really enjoyed it or if there was something really interesting. But for the most part, I think normally, like, if you've watched every video, you're not gonna be rewatching people's videos just because they're there. So I don't know exactly how much that plays into it when YouTube's figuring all this stuff out. Like, I don't know if they're saying, Okay, well, they only watched this one video from the creator, but they've already watched all their other content. I don't know how they're capturing that, realistically, because you can wipe your watch history, or you can just not record, you can turn it off so it doesn't keep track of your watch history. So I don't know how YouTube's recording that, and if they're holding that against, that's part of the problem with like growing on YouTube as a smaller creator, is trying to strike that balance, especially when you start off, when you don't have a huge library of hundreds of videos. People can go through content pretty quick, and in that case, are they counting that against you? And that's not really explained anywhere. There's nothing out there to show like what is up with all of that. But I digress a little bit because some of the other things that we can see are like engagement, which is the total watch time the videos accrued, the average view duration over time, the audience. Typically, and I'll go into a little bit older video just because typically you don't get a lot of audience details until you have a large number of people. There's certain thresholds, simply because by law in the US and another place, I think the UK is the same way, and I'm not sure exactly how far widespread it is, but they cannot show you any information that would be personal identifiable information. So for instance, if YouTube showed me that I had somebody viewing from Germany, and I knew that I only had one person viewing from Germany, then I could kind of pinpoint down and follow and figure out like what there's ways that you can figure out their watch history, and you can get information on them. So to prevent that kind of stuff, until you have a certain number of people, they just don't show that information, just to protect people. So on this I've got a little bit, shows how many subscribed, how many not subscribed. Typically these numbers, you guys are awesome. The people that are watching the videos are usually subscribed to me already. But that's also the fact that like my videos aren't really going out past that base. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But you can see like how many people use subtitles, age and gender if you have more people, not enough people available for that. Unique viewers, how many subscribers you gained for that particular video. So there's a lot of really good information in here. A lot of really cool stuff that, and like the key moments for audience retention, like if there's a spike in the video, for instance, yeah. So when there's a spike in the video, something piqued people's interest, and that I'm not going to give away what that was. You can see about in the video where it was at. If you haven't watched that video, go watch that video, because this is the what is unfiction video, and there's a reason for that spike right there. And if you watched it, you already know. So that's the kind of information that YouTube gives us as creators on the back end about how our videos are doing. Now, the smaller of a channel you are, the harder it is to kind of figure anything out from that data, just because it's not the best data in the world. Really, realistically, and I'll say especially for small creators, because I think a lot of larger creators don't even read their own comments. But for smaller creators, the best feedback is the comment section. And there's some creators out there that obviously I've seen them before, where if you dare call anything out, they don't want to get any they don't want that feedback. They don't want any kind of criticism, anything like that. Obviously, if you're giving criticism to a creator, you want to be constructive, you want to be positive. Hey, maybe you could try doing this. I've had that a few times. I've had people comment about the volume of the music, and I've been trying to tune that and make sure that that's all good. I've had comments about my titles, and very good points that were made that have caused me to kind of change how I think about things. Just because, like, you have to be willing to admit as a YouTuber when you're doing things wrong and when you could do things better, because your goal should be constantly to improve. So, what does this all come down to? Well, YouTube wants to make money. They're like any other business. That's the whole goal, is to make money. And the best way that they can do that is by keeping people on the platform, because YouTube makes its money from ad revenue. I mean, they make a little bit of money from like donations and stuff now from, when you donate to a streamer or a streamer. I mean, I guess they could be streaming on YouTube, but when you donate to a creator through the little join button that they have on their channels, or you do a super chat or something like that, a little piece of that goes to YouTube. So they make some money from that too, but it's not a lot. They make a lot more from the ad revenue. So what's the best way to make more ad revenue and keep people on the platform? Promote the content that people are going to watch. And hold on just 1 second, my battery's dying. Okay, that's better. See, least professional channel on YouTube. My battery dies in the middle of filming. But so getting back to it, so YouTube, they're trying to make money. They're trying to keep people on the platform, keep eyeballs on the video on the screens. So their best way to do that is by promoting the content that already is showing as good. And they look at that from the channels that have been around for a while, the really big channels. I'm talking about like your PewDiePies, your Mr. Beasts, like these channels that are huge, and then corporate channels, because there's a lot of corporate channels now. So they have these channels that are on there and are already getting a lot of views, are already keeping advertisers on the platform. So realistically, they just show those to as many people as possible constantly. If you have ever looked at like your recommended feed, most of your recommended feed is much bigger channels or videos with a lot of views on them. And that's because part of it's psychological. Because if you see two videos side by side and one video has 500,000 views and one video has 50 views, you're more likely psychologically to click on the one with 500,000 views. Just because like everybody else is watching this, I wonder why they're watching this. So in YouTube's eyes, those channels that have more views are the ones they're going to push, which means if you're a smaller channel that doesn't have a lot of views, you're not pushed as much, and it doesn't matter how good your content is. I've heard this argument time and time again from people as I've gone through, and especially when I was spending time in like the YouTube growth community and stuff last year, and it was a constant thing of, well, if your content's great, you're going to take off, you're going to do wonderful. If you have great thumbnails and you have great titles and your videos are good, none of that matters. I mean, it does matter, but that's not the reason people grow. There are thousands of channels out there that have outstanding, awesome content that are smaller channels, under 10,000 subscribers, under 5,000, and even under 1,000 subscribers, that are great channels that have great content, but they don't get promoted on a regular basis, like a channel like a Mr. Beast or a PewDiePie or one of the big channels out there. Because as a business, YouTube is essentially, think of YouTube as a television station, okay? And every channel is a slot of programming on that television station. And for a TV station, what it equates to is somebody comes in and says, hey, I've got this new idea for a new show. And the station says, well, we could put that on the air, but we've already got all of this great content that people are already loving. So just, put it on a shelf. Maybe we'll come back to it at some point. Which is smart from a business standpoint, because if you're already getting the eyeballs, why would you take the risk? Movie studios do the same thing. Why take the risk on an unknown when you have all of these knowns? Now, what YouTube will do instead is every once in a while, they will take a video from a smaller creator. So I'm talking somebody anywhere from a few subscribers to 10,000, 15,000 subscribers. Those channels are already doing pretty decent in that range. They'll take a video and they'll put it up for lots and lots of people to see. And the size of that push, it can be, if you normally get, say, 400 impressions on a video, all of a sudden you might have 10,000 impressions. Or you could have 100,000 impressions. It varies in how far it gets pushed. And a lot of that has to do with, and that's when the click-through rate and stuff really comes into play, because at that point, it's YouTube is intentionally putting your video up to other people, like right next to other people around your same size, and seeing who gets clicked on. But that's when they'll finally start to push your video out. And then you can see a lot of growth from that. Now that can be good and bad. It can be bad if you're a channel that doesn't have a lot of videos, or maybe you do a video that's outside of your normal scope, like that's something that's so extremely different from your normal content that people come in and they love that video but then they check out your other stuff and it's not really in the same vein, and they don't want to watch the rest of it. So that can be a downfall if you get a lot of viewers in that, But it can also be a big thing, because you can wind up gaining thousands of or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of subscribers when you finally get that point. But it's when you finally, a lot of it depends on when YouTube actually finally decides to push your videos, and it can be any time. It can be just random. You'll see channels and you can look at the subscriber line, and you'll see like it'll be like pretty flat with a little bit of raise for a little while, and then all of a sudden you get this exponential like curve, and that's the point that YouTube finally started pushing their content. I wanted to touch on this point. I think it kind of bounces off of what I was just talking about in a lot of ways. But basically, when you combine all of the stuff that I've talked about, it can quickly become overwhelming as a new creator, just because there's so much there to try and figure out. And opinions vary. They're all over the place about what it takes to grow on YouTube and be successful, quote unquote successful, because success is different for everybody. But when you think of traditional success, growing a channel, that kind of stuff, opinions are all over the place about how to do that. And typically what it boils down to is people that are already successful will say it's close to 100% skill and hard work that gets you there. And the people that haven't grown or have had trouble and struggled will say, no, it's all luck. It's 100% luck based. And I personally think it's a combination, because of what I talked about before with, if you don't have the foundation there, when you finally do get that push, it'll come crumbling down. You're not going to be successful. And so I think it's putting in hard work, it's putting in effort, being dedicated to what you do, and first and foremost, you have to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, if you are here watching this video as a content creator, or a small content creator who's trying to grow a channel, and the only reason that you are trying to grow a channel is to become either rich and famous or to make a living, that's a bad reason. That is my opinion, but I'm going to be blunt with it. That's a bad reason. If you want to start a YouTube channel, start a YouTube channel because you enjoy making content, because you want to share something, whether you want to be creative and just do creative stuff, whether you want to be educational or entertainment, whatever that happens to be, do what you love, because the chances are you will never ever make it big on you. You will never be Mark Rober or PewDiePie or Mr. Beast. You'll never have that audience. It's like becoming a movie star back in the day, and even today, I guess. But like becoming a movie star, your chances are so slim becoming a movie star. And there's a bunch of people in Hollywood right now that want to become movie stars, and they're doing everything they can to become a movie star. The same thing with YouTube, except on a bigger scale, because it's so easy to get started. Whew, that was a lot. that got a little more in depth than what I had written down necessarily. But I wanted to at least share. That's some of the stuff that I've observed. And realistically, over the past 7 months, like the biggest thing that I've learned is to make content that I enjoy making and that I would want to watch. By doing that, I can find fulfillment in the process, and I can really enjoy what I'm doing, whether I have 50 views or 5,000 views. It doesn't matter, because I'm enjoying the process and what I'm doing. But for me, the thing that's really lifted me up over the past 7 months and made it even more worth doing as far as uploading videos and that stuff is your comments. When I see your comments on the video, when I get a notification about a comment or a new comment on a video, I get excited. I love interacting and reading the comments and having conversations and going back and forth. You guys have given some amazing feedback, but also you've contributed to the conversation on various topics in amazing ways. And it's in ways that I never imagined. It's humbling, but it's also at the same time it's kind of surreal to create a video, to make something, to put my thoughts out there, and then have people actually respond and have conversations. I can't put into words how much that means to me. That's the best part for me. And that's the thing that drives me to keep going and drives me, even when I'm having my bad days. You know, I might have a bad day where I'm kind of down, I'm not feeling up to doing much. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, mental health stuff. But I'll be having one of those days and I'll get an email about a comment from somebody. And I'll go and I'll click on the video and I'll check on the comment and it'll turn my day around. It's the best part about all of this. Like, yes, I love the creative outlet and I love to be able to make something and put it out there. But all of that pales in comparison to having that interaction. Just because, like, I think you got the audience, the community that we have here, you guys are great. But you guys out there that are watching, make it worth it. Because as an artist, there's nothing more disheartening for an artist or a creator than to create something that you pour your heart and soul into and you're really passionate about, and then nobody ever sees it. And I'm lucky enough that people do see it and people respond to it, and that matters. So the next time you wonder if you matter or if anything that you have done matters, that matters. You've impacted me positively, and hopefully I've left a positive impact on you as well. And that's ultimately, you know, I want to leave a positive imprint on the world. I'm not going to live forever. Someday, you know, getting a little existential here. Someday in the future, I won't be around, and I hope that in my time on this earth, no matter how long that is, I can leave a positive impression on at least one person out there, because at that point I can say that I at least helped somebody or did something good. So I know that got a little more existential near the end there. Yeah, that got a little deeper than I meant to go, but hopefully you guys get the point. Hopefully if you're still around, I love you. Thank you. If you're not subscribed and you're still around, you're awesome. Go out and, you know, if this is the first time that you're on my channel and you've watched this entire video, I would ask that you would go check out a few more videos. And if you like a few videos, subscribe. Be a part of the community. We'd love to have you. And ask any questions you have down in the comments. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Leave random stuff down, you know, something that you might want to see me cover. I've had some good conversations with a few people in recent video comment sections, giving me some ideas of different things, including this video. So, yeah, leave ideas down there. Leave your thoughts down there. Just say hi. If that's all you want to do in the comments, just say, hi, saw your video. That's cool. But that's all I've got. I'm starting to really, my mind's starting to spin right now, so I'm trying to think of, but if I forgot anything, if you noticed I had a new intro, if you like the intro, let me know. I'm trying some different things. I'm kind of rebranding a little bit. I put a new channel banner up on the main channel page and a new profile picture, and I've got a new intro for these type of videos. I already have other intros for like cemetery chats and that kind of stuff, so you know, this kind of adds this type of video to my wheelhouse since I've been doing them for a while now. But at this point I'm rambling. Go check out this video if you haven't already. As always, I want to thank you all for watching, and everybody have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.